What is up YouTube? We're underleveled. My name is Taka and today I have another Nintendo Switch controller review. I'll be reviewing the new Gamesir T4 Mini controller for the Nintendo Switch and Nintendo Switch Lite. So let's get right into it, shall we? Okay, so Gamesir sent us their new T4 Mini controller to test out, and for the past month, we've been using nothing but this controller. I mean, how can you make a review without extensively testing it, right? Well, extensive testing we did because we've been using this controller to play through the new Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl game. So, hundreds of hours later with this controller and, well, you'd be pretty surprised at how well this controller performed. Alright, so the Gamesir T4 Mini controller will cost you about $35 on Amazon, but this is packed full of features at almost half the cost of a Nintendo Switch Pro controller. Will this controller outshine the once unbeatable Pro controller? It just might. But here it is. This is their mini version of their T4 controller. Now, when I first saw the size, I thought it might be a problem in my slightly larger than average hand size, according to Google. But the first time I held it, it felt natural and comfortable. I was able to hit all the buttons without struggling. And the buttons? They feel amazing. A lot of buttons on other controllers have a lot of play, a lot of rattle to them, but if you listen, that's the sound of quality. No extra play, no extra rattle. The buttons, they're solid, they're good. I love them. Now, another really cool thing about these buttons is that the ABXY, they're not printed on the face of the button. Instead, they're magnified under the clear button. So, when you look at this controller at different angles, it actually shifts with you. It's absolutely mesmerizing. I spent literally a good 15 minutes just looking at this controller at different angles. I just thought that was so cool. I mean, it's a controller. It has buttons and thumbsticks, but how do you make it unique? How do you make it different from all the other controllers? It's all in the small details. But anyway, let's move on. Alright, next is the plus, minus, home, capture, and turbo button. Now, I really like these buttons because they have this clicky, tactile feel to it. Listen to this. You hear that click, that register? You know you're pressing these buttons. I don't know how many times on my other controllers I've accidentally pressed the capture button because there's just no response. There's no feel to those buttons, unlike these. Very clicky, very responsive. And yes, you did hear me mention a turbo button. Yes, they were able to put a turbo button in this small controller. Now for the thumbsticks, they feel really good. They're very smooth, no extra play in them. And when you press on them, they have that really crispy click. I'm all about that click, that response. It's so good, chef kiss worthy. I absolutely love that. Now, for the D-pad, there's nothing really noteworthy to mention about it. It feels good, it's solid, it's not squishy. I like it. Alright, now for the bumpers and the triggers. They feel really good, they're very solid, they have no rattle to them, no extra play. The travel distance is about the same as a Pro controller. And the bumpers? They have a very subtle kind of click to them, which I really like, that responsive feel. Kind of like the buttons and the thumbsticks. Alright, next, let's take a look at the lighting features in this controller. They packed so many features into this controller, it's absolutely insane. Alright, so first you have your backlit ABXY button, which look absolutely amazing with their respective colors. Next, you have these ring lights around the thumbsticks. Now, this is where things get pretty cool because if you don't care for this rainbow lighting, well, you can choose from one of 8 other colors that they've included. Changing the light on the thumbsticks is extremely easy. All you have to do is hold the turbo button and press down on the thumbstick. It's so easy. So what if you can't decide which color you want? Well, Gamesir thought of that. They have a breathing lighting effect that will cycle through all of the colors. You can get to it by holding the turbo button and double pressing on the thumbstick. This is by far my favorite setting. I mean, come on, is that not cool that they added all of this into such a small controller? But what if you don't want lights around your thumbsticks? Well, you can turn them off just by holding the turbo button and double pressing on the thumbsticks until the lights turn off. Just like that. Okay, so we covered everything on the outside of this controller. Now let's talk about what's inside of it, because there's a lot going on. For example, there's no way that they were able to fit rumble into such a small controller. Even if they did, I mean, so what, right? It's not like you can adjust the strength of the vibration. The thing is, they absolutely did put rumble in such a small controller, and you absolutely can adjust the vibration strength right on the controller without needing any kind of external software. And adjusting the vibration strength is as easy as holding the turbo button and pressing up or down on the D-pad. You can also completely turn it off if you want. I am so spoiled with all the features in this controller that not once did I ever miss my Pro Controller while testing this controller out. And now, how am I supposed to go back to my Pro Controller? Like, how? But anyway, connecting this to my Switch and Switch Lite was just as easy as connecting my Pro Controller. It uses Bluetooth 5.0 and it allows you to connect it to your PC as well as your phone. But with this button layout, it's more suited for Nintendo Switch and the Switch Lite. Now, this controller, it also has a 6-axis gyroscope in it, which works perfectly fine as it should. I had no problem at all using it while playing games like Mario Kart or Breath of the Wild. Now, the Gamesir T4 Mini, it has a 600 mAh internal rechargeable battery, rechargeable with the included USB Type-C cable, which is really nice because since everything is converting over to USB Type-C, sometimes it's pretty difficult for me to find a micro USB for some of the other controllers I have. Now, it takes about 2 to 3 hours to fully charge, and you get about 10 to 15 hours worth of play out of it, which isn't as long as some of the other wireless controllers out there. Now, even with the ring lights turned off, I didn't really notice a significant difference in battery life. But when I was testing this out, for me personally, 10 hours is a good amount of time for me to play and then charge it while I'm taking a break or getting food or something like that. But a longer battery life would be nice, but it's completely understandable considering how small this controller is and how many features they packed into this controller. Speaking of size, here are the exact dimensions of this mini controller. You can see just how compact it is, perfect for traveling and gaming on the go. I found myself popping this controller in my pocket and taking it with me when I leave the house with my Switch. Now finally, my favorite feature on this controller. If you saw my other controller review from over 9 months ago, you would know the one feature that I wish most wireless controllers had. Yes, some way to turn the controller off. Now, it does have an auto sleep function like most wireless controller has, but it also gives you the option to turn it off whenever you want. Now, if you press and hold the home button for 3 seconds, it'll turn the controller off. Thank you. Thank you. I love that. I appreciate that so much. Now, I said a lot of nice things about this controller, and Gamesir, they didn't pay us. They didn't even ask us to make a review about it. They just asked us to test it out for them. So, here's my honest conclusion and if you should pick up this controller or not. If you have normal to small hands, then I absolutely recommend this controller to you. It has way more features than a Nintendo Switch Pro controller at almost half the price. I personally feel like this outshines my Pro controller, and this is going to be my main go-to controller for a while. But if you have extremely large hands, then I can see this controller size being a bit problematic for you. Now this controller, it cannot scan amiibos, but for me personally, I feel like the amount of features that they packed into this controller completely outshines the lack of an NFC reader. For me right now, I don't really scan in amiibos often, but if you do, it might be something to keep in mind. But this mini controller is comfortable and it feels great. The feedback from the buttons are excellent and the lighting effects are stunning. It's portable and perfect for gaming on the go, and while the internal battery is slightly smaller than other wireless controllers, the 10-hour battery you get from it will outlast your Switch's fully charged battery and then some. Overall, the Gamesir T4 Mini wireless controller is excellent and I highly recommend it, and for its price range, you really can't beat it. But I hope this review helped you decide if you want to pick up a Gamesir T4 Mini for your Nintendo Switch or Switch Lite. And if you found this video helpful, then don't forget to hit that like button, as well as subscribe and turning on the bell for notifications for more Nintendo Switch accessory reviews. But thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.